Welcome.
Hi there. My name is Dr. Tapper. I'm a doctor here in Omaha, Nebraska.
Can you state your address for the record?
16909 Burke Street. I came here tonight. It was my night to put the children to bed. I have nothing to gain by being here tonight, but everything to lose. In fact, my wife didn't want me to be here tonight because she thinks this is a waste of time for me to speak out. She said that you guys have your minds made up, and I beg to differ. I stand by the quote that you never know how far-reaching something you may think, say today will affect the lives of millions tomorrow. We all want the same thing, don't we? We want healthy people. I am a doctor of prevention. I am a doctor of wellness. That's what I specialize in. I am a nerd. I spend lots of time studying NVSS numbers from the CDC. I put on flu workshops, and I have been for many years. And I have some concerns about where we're headed. I'm not here to tell you and argue and debate whether these masks are effective or ineffective, because we can sit here all night. I can show you peer-reviewed articles and studies from the that were published in the the American Associations for Physicians and Surgeons. But what I'm here to tell you is that we're basing all of these lockdowns, these restrictions, these mandates on faulty testing. In other words, we don't have a pandemic of people falling over dead. What we have is a pandemic of false positives. In fact, I want to ask you the question, do you know who Kary Mullis is? Do you know any of you? Do you know who that name is? Does that name ring a bell? Well, you should. Because all of these lockdowns and restrictions and mandates are based off of his test, the PCR test. He invented this test in 2015. He died last year. I have videos, if you want, I will send you the interview of him stating this exact, and I quote, anyone can test positive for practically anything with a PCR test. If you run it long enough with PCR, you do it well, you can find almost anything in anybody. It doesn't tell you that you're sick. This test was never meant to be diagnostic. It doesn't tell you whether you're sick or not. This test is a DNA grab. We do a culture swab in the posterior cavity of the sinuses. If this is such a deadly disease, why can't we swab your mask? Why can't we do saliva? You're telling me you need to go 3 inches deep in the posterior cavity, millimeters from the blood-brain barrier, to do a swab test.
2 minutes.
Clinicals 101. This type of test needs subjective, it needs symptomatology, and it needs objective findings to correlate, and not only correlate, but correspond to the diagnosis, to confirm the diagnosis. An asymptomatic person has neither. That tells you that this is a faulty testing. That is Clinicals 101. So why do we have this faulty testing? If you were paying attention last year, the ACIP, the Advisory Committee on Immunization Practice, stated last year that we can't force vaccinate anybody, but we can force compliance. The World Health Organization last year stated that the greatest threat to the health of the world are people who refuse vaccinations or unvaccinated people. This mask mandate will soon turn into a vaccine one, and I will be here in 2 months when that happens. Pfizer and Moderna are lobbying our government right now to push mandated vaccines. There were bills last year sweeping our nation to eradicate medical freedoms, and we need to understand that. Martin Luther King Jr. stated that the ultimate measure of a man or woman is not where he stands in times of comfort and convenience, but where he stands in conflict and controversy. We don't have medical freedom here. We have a medical dictatorship knocking on our doorstep.
30 seconds.
And if you vote yes to this, you're letting them in the door.
Please, no comments for decorum, no clapping.
I mean no disrespect to you, nor the doctors or the nurses in this world, because they are the hardest working people on the planet. But I stand before you today as a doctor of integrity, someone who cares deeply for this country and our people, for my children. Because our freedom is at stake here, and you vote yes, you just eradicated freedom.
Thank you.
Freedom isn't safe, but it's the safest thing we have.
Next.